Good morning and welcome back. It is the 1st of February 1942 in the Wirraway versus Heclapar playpen game. It is D+1 in India. Ah, first I thought he might have sent in surface units, but instead looks like a ship of his trying to escape the port runs into one of my covering task forces. Looks like Kumano dispatched him at close range. His submarines continue to have success against my patrol boat fast transport task forces. This one was carrying part of a small special naval landing force unit. Looks like he may not have sunk that patrol boat. That's good. They're close to Rabaul, so they'll probably divert. So we're pulling out the 48th Division off Horn Island. Should say elements of the 48th Division. Looks like in India fell because it was undefended, which has some disadvantages during the amphibious task force bonus phase. It slows my offloading of troops, but it also limits to almost zero any losses. So uh, he remnants of his fighter force. Key to any sustained bomber offensive is obviously weather, but excess aviation support. Wherever your bombers are flying from, you've got to have excess aviation support to keep them in the air. Okay, so he still made no attempts so far to interdict our invasion forces, nor our evacuation of the 48th Division. These are good things. Okay. It's down to 200 AV. Get down to about 37 AV. Paratroopers take Akyab. Okay. So he didn't attack at Manila. I was wondering if he would. Maybe he's still thinking about it. Check India, primary theater of operations. So hinted at this last time, but his decision not to put any garrison at Viz, um, while you can understand it, its key disadvantage is means the Japanese units arrive essentially undisrupted, and the amphibious task forces don't fire any of their uh, weapons to support the landings. So essentially, other than Kumano, who fired some of its guns to sink that one transport, all my cover forces, all my ships with my invasion task forces, and there are quite a few light cruisers and destroyers still have their full loadout of ammo. Now that Viz has fallen, the carriers can withdraw. Most of my transports have already withdrawn. I've got 27,000 tons of supply right now at Viz. Um, Supply limit is 17,000. So I need to build up that airfield quickly because I'm still unloading quite a bit more supply. May not unload at all just because don't want to lose too much of it to spoilage. And right now, with my dominance in the Bay of Bengal, I can resupply uh, in a week or so. So we'll finish unloading. Looks like most, like the Imperial Guards and the 14th Tank aren't, they're only half unloaded. Again, this was that, is once the base fell, uh, to my units before those amphibious task forces land, so they don't get the full benefit of the amphib bonus phase. They're essentially just unloading at the port and over the beach. So it's a slower process, ironically, than if it had been enemy territory. But again, there's no losses. So it's all good. Now the base has fallen. The fighters fly in recon and send tanks and recon units east and west. Still no sign of any activity. He has a couple ships at Madras. Now that Akab's fallen, we'll fly in recon also there to the level 3 base. Let's just check the supply path to Akab. So it's clear. So in a few days, supply will flow to Akab. So I don't actually have to ship any in. If you're not familiar, that's the 5 key to check supply path. So we're also now at the phase where we can prep to take Magwe. We need engineers, aviation support, and lots of AA guns. But, and I don't want to rush that, but as we begin to press towards Calcutta and the coast of Chittagong, we reduce the risk. He hasn't built up any of these airfields particularly large. He can use Lasho. Oh, it's just level 2, so really the only risk is him flying out of Imphal, Lido. Probably won't use Dhaka because it's exposed. Maybe a Calcutta, but he hasn't built up any of these, so we should be able to take and protect the oil at Magwe. And eventually, we want to take the oil and the refinery at Lido. We're going to need fuel if we capture the heavy industry um, at Bangalore, Madras, Calcutta, Janishapur. We're going to need fuel for the heavy industry to get the benefit out of it. And of course, we always need fuel. No real change going on at Java, where transports are returning to Singapore to bring the last of the divisions. Let's see how close we are to finishing up this operation. about half the 48th section C loaded. So another turn, mission will be done. Routed the remnants of these units so we can pull the rest of the 48 out through Una to Gazmata. He still has a couple remnants here. Um, Australians running around literally in the bush, ready to attack and take the Santa Cruz Islands and conduct our first assault on Lumiere. Very good. Let's just check. So our carriers have left, but not making particularly rapid progress. Let's check their speed. Yeah, I'm gonna have to slow my invasion task force down. Remember, Kaga took a torpedo early in the campaign, and I've only partially repaired her. She's a tough old battle cruiser based carrier, battleship based carrier, and so she's not particularly fast at the moment, just maximum speed 25, 26 knots. And looks like the cruise speed of this carrier task force with the battleships, the old Nagatos, um, isn't any faster than my invasion task force, which was a miscalculation on my part. So I'm going to slow them down um, and let the carriers catch up. In China, no, no, looks like he's moved one unit here. I have quite a bit of combat power in the hex, so that's going to be ugly for him. And we've invested Changsha. Waiting for supplies to continue our attack here. Should be possible this turn. Let's check. Yeah, you know, some of the armor units are still not. This is part of a disadvantage, having to. Uh, so the good decision on his part to try to maneuver and force me to use my transport aircraft to resupply these two divisions instead of the spearhead, though. Uh, yeah, so I need to extricate them and be able to push the pace faster here. Uh, I could use medium bombers to do supply also. Right now, though, my tanks are recovering from their last attack, so it's not just a supply issue, but nevertheless, there's always an opportunity cost. And the opportunity cost of trying to keep these divisions from being encircled and annihilated is probably every so often. Um, I'm slowing down my attacks on my main axis of advance by a day. Um, a more ruthless uh, general might just say, screw that, but I really can't afford to lose those two divisions and leave his units in this area to operate freely. That would be the uh, less desirable. So I need to extricate them, and then uh, I can use my transports the way I originally wanted to. The fatigue level, again, plenty of excess. I think having built it up to level 8, so you can see excess aviation is keeping everybody flying almost same here, and they're only flying their missions. Batavia is closer. I've got a little surplus, and I need to add more aviation support, more Sallies, and perhaps even Betty's to support that airfield suppression. Going to take Christmas Island in the Indian Ocean here and preparing for to grab Sandpit, then pull out this Special Naval Landing Force unit and rebuild it. It suffered loss. The assault on Badger Mason, where he had some, they were either sword wildebeests, I think, that caught one of the transports. So I'm going to pull him out, rebuild him at Surabaya, uh, swap a company-sized unit here because these units don't represent a threat. Then we will be ready to move on Balikpapan and Samarinda as soon as uh, we've confident we've fully suppressed Banduing and grabbed Kegian. So that's what's going on there. Already talked about Horn Island. Already talked about this theater. So all very good. It's potentially possible we're going to get out of our Bay of Bengal operations with almost no losses. Shocking outcome to me, but good news nonetheless. Anyway, look forward to the next turn where we'll have some decent recon of what's going on and begin our advance east and west. And the coming weeks should be quite exciting in India. We'll see if he tries to defend or begins to immediately withdraw. Should know in a few days. Should be able to make first attack at Changsha in a couple of days and continue the drive on, or drive, continue the attacks towards Ankang. A couple more weeks. They should have ground those guys to dust. Looking forward to our next chance to talk.